if you have powerful, law firms capitulating right out of the gate, what does that mean? What does it mean, not just across the board for sort of broad public discourse, but what does it mean practically? I mean, so many of the immigration cases brought during Trump 1, family separation, the travel ban, you name it, relied pretty extensively on pro bono legal help from major law firms. And right out of the gate, the administration kind of kneecapped any notion of that being a part of the resistance to its agenda. So it's a scary prospect. This is it. I mean, the stakes are high.
When you have an institution, the presidency, that will not follow the court orders. I mean, even Nixon in Watergate, when the Supreme Court ruled against him, he handed over the tapes and ended up resigning from office rather than being impeached and removed otherwise. Even Nixon is the kind of catchphrase. Even Nixon followed what it is that the courts told him to do after he exhausted his appeals. And there is no, as far as we can tell, and this is an argument that goes back 200 years, it's like Trump has always practiced. So, yeah, what are you gonna do about it? How are you going to make me? Which is the argument of a 2-year-old as well, "Make me do it." And so what remedies are there? I wanna move on to something else in a minute, but what
Yeah.
remedies are there if you have, my favorite word of 2024, contumacious public officials who thumb their noses at the laws that they have sworn to protect but are there to undercut to all intents and purposes?
Yeah. Frankly, I don't know what the answer is in the current landscape. I mean, in a straightforward sense, the principle of, meaningful democratic resistance remains, the recourse remains in the courts. And by and large, federal judges have ruled favorably when people have sued the administration for any number of overly aggressive illegal policies, and we can talk about some of the specifics of them. Um, and sure, the administration has now fired back and actually, in many cases, personally attacked individual judges by name and made threats, and in some cases ignored injunctions. But it's not yet clear what will happen if those cases get fought out further in court. And I think that very much remains to be seen. And I think that's very clearly what the approach has been for people who sue the government and who in certain instances have felt like, okay, the administration just ignored a federal judge's injunction or interpreted it in bad faith. It's to continue to press the legal case, which is one reason. I mean, I don't want to keep looping back into a kind of doom loop here of of upsetting trends that we're seeing. But I just want to point out two things that were particularly important to me that happened basically in March of 2025, and they happened more or less simultaneously. And I think it's kind of revealing this particular sequencing here.
Hi, I'm Pat Morrison, one of the hosts of America at a Crossroads. If you like this video, don't just watch. Head over to our website where you can subscribe for early access to new programs, see our upcoming schedules, and connect directly with our guests in our weekly live streams. Thank you for watching.
So for one thing, you had in March the administration invoking the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, a law that has been invoked 3 times in the whole of American history, always during war times. And the administration invoked it on the grounds that mass migration constituted a form of hostile foreign invasion of the United States, and that therefore the president had the authority in this case to round up Venezuelans without due process, without evidence, accuse them of membership in a gang, and in this particular case, to send them to a prison in El Salvador where many of them were brutally tortured. And in that case, a federal judge was responding to a lawsuit brought by the ACLU, and in real time issued an injunction the weekend of March 15th, saying to the administration, you have to pause the deportations under the Alien Enemies Act because I need further briefing on what's happening. And we now know that there were internal communications inside the Justice Department where top lawyers said to each other, we can ignore this judge's ruling, forget it. And to be clear, the person who said that is now an appellate court judge nominated by Trump and confirmed by the Republican-controlled Senate. And that right out of the gate, I think, set the tempo and the kind of spirit of what we're seeing. I mean, this was March of 2025. At the same time that was happening, you also had the administration announcing that there'd be a series of executive orders and memoranda brought against prominent law firms who did work that the president personally took issue with. And rather than banding together these law firms and fighting what would have been an obviously illegal series of executive orders and presumptions of the president, a very, very prominent law firm, Paul Weiss, based in New York, made a deal with the Trump administration. That, to my mind, has actually raised very deep and worrisome questions about what the legal fight against the administration starts to look like. I mean, if you have powerful, law firms capitulating right out of the gate, what does that mean? What does it mean, not just across the board for sort of broad public discourse, but what does it mean practically? I mean, so many of the immigration cases brought during Trump 1, family separation, the travel ban, you name it, relied pretty extensively on pro bono legal help from major law firms. And right out of the gate, the administration kind of kneecapped any notion of that being a part of the resistance to its agenda. So it's a scary prospect. This is it. I mean, the stakes are high.
I'm Pat Morrison. You can find more about these programs coming up. There you see some on the screen, and you can also find out how you can support them yourself. We love your questions. We hope to get to more of them every time, but you're so good with them. We don't always have time to do that, but we'll keep trying. Thank you for joining us tonight on behalf of the whole team here.